In this section, we will cover firewall and IP tables and the basics of it and basic understanding of it. To start with, understanding and managing firewall. A firewall is a protective layer that is configured between a private and a public network to segregate traffic. There are several types of firewalls, one of which performs data packet filtering. A data packet is formed as a result of a process called encapsulation, whereby the header information is attached to a message during the formation of the packet. The header includes information such as a source and destination IP address, port, and type of data. Red Hat Enterprise Linux comes standard with a host-based packet filtering firewall software called iptables that communicates with the netfilter module in the kernel for policing the flow of data packets. IP tables with and without Firewall D. Beginning with Red Hat 7, IP table service and firewall rule set may be configured and managed through a new dynamic firewall service daemon called Firewall D, and that is for starting with from Red Hat 7 or CentOS 7. The major advantage is the daemon's ability to immediately apply the updates without causing a disruption to current network connections, and this can be done anytime. It has eliminated the need to save or apply the changes, reload the rules, restart the service, or reboot the system. And knowing that Firewall D is a better way of managing IP tables on Red Hat 7 or CentOS 7, if we still do not want to use it for one or the other reason, we can simply disable it or continue to use the iptables command to manage iptables rules the way we did on Red Hat 6 or earlier versions. So we don't have to actually use it. We can disable it and still continue to use iptables. In some of the examples that we will cover here on how to use it is first of all to check what's installed, if iptables is installed or if firewall D is installed. These are the commands we can run. So let me run those. Yum list installed, and then I'll grep for iptables. Hit enter. And if you have iptables there and it is installed, it will show you and it will list what's installed for iptables. As you can see, it shows the current version of iptables that's installed. And similarly, we can also check if we have Firewall D installed and what version of it is installed. So let me run the same command again, and this time I'm going to grep for Firewall D. As you can see, it will give you the version of Firewall daemon which is already installed and what's installed, and this is how we can find that information. Now, iptable configuration files is listed in etc sysconfig iptables, and this is where all the information will be of the configuration of iptables and what's in there, what rules, etc. And you can check that as well. Now, iptables and Firewall D services. To enable Firewall D service, you can run this command, systemctl enable Firewall D. So this will auto start Firewall D. So when the system is rebooted, when you run this command, it will automatically be started. If you just want to start it for the session or start it right away, you can run this command, which is systemctl start Firewall D, and Firewall D will start. And to check the status, if you can run systemctl status Firewall D with -L option. Now let's move on to how would you stop this service. To stop the service, you can run this command. All these commands are very similar to each other, so it's once you know the format of the command, you can easily run any of the other commands, or you can easily look up in the notes. This file, the text file, is available to you, so you can download it and practice these commands as well. So let's run this command, see what happens. System. Oops, I typed it in here. Let me just undo that. So let's go here, system ctl stop firewall d. Hit enter. And no message, that means it's stopped. And if you wanted to disable it, we will disable it by running this command. Systemctl disable firewall d. And that's how you would disable firewall d. In case you wanted to just use iptables, you can just use iptables by disabling firewall d. Now, similarly for iptables, you can run systemctl enable iptables, and that will enable iptables. And that's enabling means once the system reboots, it will still be enabled. And if you wanted to start just the service for the session, you can just run systemctl start iptables, and that will start the iptables. And this is how you control services of Firewall D and iptables, how to start, how to stop, how to make sure they're running when the system boots or not. Now, that's as far as services starting and stopping, etc. Now, to list the rules currently in place, what you can do is you can type in iptables. Let me clear the screen because it's probably going to be a bit long. So to list the rules currently in place, you can run this command, iptables -l. I don't have a lot of custom tools, custom rules running on this server, because this server is for training purposes, but this is where you will see everything. So these are the current rules that we have in place for iptables. For example, target, port, opt, destination, and you can add more rules depending on your needs. You can add different rules to block or certain traffic or block certain IPs, etc., which we will cover. Now, if you wanted to remove all existing rules, you can run this command, iptables -F, and that will remove all existing rules. Now, the example of if you wanted to insert a rule to allow inbound traffic on port 90 from this particular IP address or this particular IP address range only. So basically what you're saying is this particular IP address range, you're creating a rule to allow inbound traffic on port 90. In that case, you will use something like this, iptables -I input -s, and then you give it the range of the port, and then you do -p and specify TCP port //d port 90. So you're saying port number 90 -j accept. So you're basically creating this rule to allow inbound traffic on port 90 from this IP address or the range of IP addresses only. And you can practice it, or you can change the rule or practice it on a different IP. I currently don't have this IP or IP range, and I don't want to allow it, but this is how you would run it. This is just one example of it. You will find many examples depending on the needs of your company. I would say just have a different IP and apply the setting and see how it looks like. Service iptables save. For iptables, you will still have to save after making that change, and you will do service iptables save, and that will save the rules. And then you do iptables -l again to check if the rule is there and it has been saved. Moving on to how to add a runtime rule to allow traffic on TCP port 443. So you're basically adding a runtime rule to allow traffic on TCP port 443. To do that, you can run firewall -cmd add port hyphen port is equal to 443/TCP. This is just for this example. Let's say if you're working and you need to open a different port, then you would change that port number here. So for example, another TCP port that you wanted to change, you would type in that port number here to allow the traffic on that particular port. Now to list the services, you can list with this command firewall -cmd / list list services to list all the services. And to list ports, you will run this command. This is just the basic understanding of or practical usage of IP tables and firewall rules, which you can implement. A lot of times, there's some companies where they have other settings in different firewall or external firewalls, which they implement as well. And sometimes, for certain reasons, some companies disable firewall. But with the firewall D, which is used for Red Hat 7, you can implement that. It has a lot newer features. But if you don't, then you can disable it and still use IP tables as you used in Red Hat 6 or earlier versions. But this is just a basic concept of how firewalls work, how you can start and stop the services, how can you can add some rules to it. And rules are dependent on your company and your needs and the policies of your company or whatever you need to do for those rules that you need to create. Let's say you disabled port port 21 or port blah blah. Let's say there's a port that you've disabled and you created another port and you want to open traffic on that. You can use commands similar to that to open that port. So you will basically create a rule to allow traffic on a different port. So these are some of the things that you will be implementing if you were implementing a firewall or implementing IP tables, and this is how you can add and remove certain rules. I hope you learned something useful in this video as well, and I will see you in the next one.